What would Herb Jones look like defensively with a rim protector? I've been thinking about it. So let's talk about it.
You must know that first. Can't nothing and nobody fade what we trying to do and what we about to do. Second thing is, we got this game on our level. You understand what I'm saying?
Welcome to another episode of In Space. I'm your host, Chris Connor. I feel like this is my first non-halftime show of 2024. Shout out to y'all that's been rocking with the halftime show and pretty much everything that the network, the platform has been putting out. Period. I mean, I'm sure as y'all have been able to notice, I've moved, so I got some things to put together here to kind of match my old background and stuff. But I'm a little bit under the weather, has some laptop problems, but I'm done giving excuses. Let's get these ideas off. Let's have a conversation. Let's chop it up. Shout out to the people that have also been supporting us since day one. DraftKings Sportsbook, Jägermeister, as well as Birdsall Law Firm. I've seen some other ads up here, some other sponsors up here. I don't know if they real or fake, if they mine or not. I probably should ask, but we're going to go with the ones that we know for sure. You will hear from DraftKings Sportsbook at the end of the show. So, while I plan on putting out a few shows this week of random ideas, different guests, and kind of getting back into a groove of things here of recording. Shout out to Lido for telling me that I've been lazy. Basically. But even I never want to give him a compliment. But Herb Jones, man. And this conversation kind of ties into possible trade deadline things that we'll be discussing at some point when it comes to the Pelicans. If you're thinking about final pieces when it comes to this year that best maximizes this team, and even if you're talking about trimming down the roster a little bit to make things a little simpler in reference to rotational pieces or consistent rotational pieces, this may all kind of translate in conversation. But this is really a thought. I want to know what you guys think about it, because I'm gonna throw out some names as well in comparison, because I spent a little bit of time thinking about this. Now, we all know the year that Herb Jones is having. I think he'll finally crack a All NBA defensive team this year, and I think the Pelicans win-loss record will finally also allow for that to happen as well. And he's also been on some defensive player of the year lists with some notable writers and analysts of the game. So once again, he's doing what Herb Jones does. Shout out to Lido as well, who just dropped an article recently on Herb Jones. It was really good. Check it out. A real YouTuber, like a real streamer, would say like link at the bottom. I'm not putting this link. I'm not doing that. I'm not. But it was a really good article. Y'all go find it. That's my dog. But yeah, what would he look like with a rim protector, man? Since he's been in New Orleans, Jonas Valanciunas has been his starting center. While I think Jonas has improved, and I think he is. This stretch has been the best balance Jonas Valanciunas I think that we've seen since he's been in New Orleans. I think he's put up some really impressive numbers. He's carried when he's had to. He's had some stretches where he's protected the rim, but he's still not a rim protector. So I started to think about some of the other defenders around the league. Who else has rim protectors? What other, we talk about a lot of these other guys that are really good, like Marcus Smart, for example, who's had Robert Williams III. I mean, he's a hell of a perimeter defender. But then you think, he's had Robert Williams III. I mean, that's helped. Al Horford, really smart defender, even if I wouldn't consider him a rim protector. And now Jaren Jackson Jr. Hey, that has to help, right? And then on top of that, other really good perimeter defenders around him. And we'll go over, some other names as well. What would Herb Jones look like with that? Even with a Jared Allen or with the Miles Turner or someone even lesser than that. I know he's not available because he's hurt or, we'd be way down the line. But, a Mitchell Robinson. I mean, hell, a Bismack Bianco, Chaz's guy that he's brought up. Yeah. What would he look like with someone they don't even have to be an elite rim protector. They just have that label, a deterrent at the rim that can block some shots and, stop people from getting whatever they want at the rim consistently. Now, you might say, well, what is Larry Nance? Larry Nance is someone who plays really good in space. He's smart as hell. He can get his hands in the passing lane. He can take away the ball. He can steal. He can get a few blocks. He can get up to the rim. I think he's really good at the getting the ball at his highest point when he's able to get into position. I think he's good weak side. I think Larry can take charges. He can do a lot of things good defensively, but he's not what you would consider a rim protector. We know Jackson Hayes didn't work in New Orleans. And really they've been trying to figure that out, the rim protector element for a while now. Even before David Griffin got to New Orleans, since the final days of Anthony Davis, of course. So, I'm thinking about options and what folks are saying. Maybe you feel like the Pelicans should look for more of a floor spacer than someone that can protect the rim. But when I'm talking about how special Herb Jones has been, are we discounting what it could look like? He's also a guy that doesn't have someone that you would consider great next to him defensively night to night. And I'm thinking about the stretches that he had playing with Dyson Daniels and him, starting, and that him being able to alleviate that, some of his responsibilities, some of his duties to Dyson, and just kind of roam, kind of be free, or have a lot more freedom to roam and make plays defensively off ball, and which Five would call Herb, is Herb's special element. As great as he is on ball, he's something else off ball. So let's go through some of these names, because maybe, I was like, maybe, am I imagining something, that are there a lot of great on ball defenders or people that we consider great defensively in space? Specifically, I'm talking backcourt wings. I'm not including big men in this, but are we looking at a lot of defenders that are also putting these in a similar Herb Jones kind of situation? And I start looking like, you got Jimmy Butler, even at his age. I think of a guy who's really good as a rim protector. He has Bam, who, if you don't consider him an elite shot blocker, he is one of the best defensive centers in basketball, regardless. Jrue Holiday, he's had Brook Lopez. This year he has Kristaps Porzingis. Both guys who can protect the rim. Even before that, Jrue had AD, right? Yeah, man. I mean, let's keep. I'm looking here. I think Andrew Wiggins is a really good perimeter defender. Helps to have Draymond Green, but around him, but he's not necessarily a rim protector. What would you consider Kevon Looney? Questions that I had. Marcus Smart, I already told you about him having Jaren Jackson Jr. this year. Maybe OG Anunoby is someone from his days in Toronto, but I think it's also helped to have adequate defenders or guys who can defend in Scotty Barnes and to some stretch in Pascal Siakam, just from a switchability perspective. Your thoughts on Jakob Poeltl? It's up to you. I think he's okay at the rim. I don't think he's a great rim protector by any means. Derek White, same thing. Celtics right now. Porzingis, Robert Williams overtime. Yeah, man. I mean, Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert. If I mention to you Paul George, Zubac's decent, but even at his advanced age as well, Kawhi Leonard's still really good defensively, and Terrence Mann is getting a lot better as well. So, I'm looking and I'm wondering, what we talk about the element of freedom of a more athletic center and what that would look like for the Pelicans and what that would open up for spacing offensively, whether you believe that person is a floor spacer or just as a shooter, or someone who can move laterally better, or someone who's a rib runner, who's a lob threat. But I don't know as often do we talk about it defensively, and who it helps. And I don't know if we talk about it as much as when it comes to Herb Jones. And I thought about that, man, and I'm curious with that. her being able to defend and maybe leaving his man to go help or rotate somewhere else because he knows he has an eraser at the rim. He knows that the the ball handler that is going towards the rim has something to really think about. Um, if we're talking about an athletic guy that maybe is able to move from stop to stop and rotate, an entire an entire offensive possession of the ball swinging, what does that do for Herb's ability as a defender when we're just talking about IQ? What does that do when we're talking about his ability as a switch defender, or him being able to just be with someone consistently that speaks his language defensively when we're talking about the starter group? I'm not talking about the bench as much. I'm talking about the guys he's out there starting with, because those are the ones that are going to, we're talking Brandon, Zion, and CJ. We're talking about that particular group who, while I've talked about how the month or so that Brandon's been having defensively, I think his best month as a Pelican, to be honest, defensively. I think CJ has raised his reputation since arriving, but still has his limitations. And then Zion can give you a couple good stretches, but he still isn't the guy that some thought would maybe dominate, some compared to Draymond Green coming out of Duke eventually. Long way to go there. But yeah, man, what would that look like? Would that turn this team for I've had a few people tell me that are I consider smarter than me when it comes to basketball, tell me that Willie's best element, his best attribute is his ability to have folks buy in defensively. His ability to, maybe put out a bunch of average defenders and make them into really good team defenders, putting together really good defensive schemes. The numbers and the stats kind of back that up. But if you raise the individual talent simply for Herb Jones, what in the hell would that look like? What kind of transitional opportunities would that turn into for this team? How would the energy levels raise? Would you give Herb Jones an opportunity at that point to create more turnovers? When you put a guy like that, would Ed Reed then turn into Troy Polamalu with some of the off script things he'd be able to do? He hasn't had that type of rim protection, that kind of deterrent at the rim in his days in New Orleans, not consistently. And I'm just curious what it would look like. So, what you guys think? Do you guys think that it even matters? What are some of the names that you would look like or that you would look at on the market? I don't think it has to be a large name, a superstar. I don't think it has to be a star, a big salary guy. I don't even care about what they do offensively. I'm simply looking, and they may not even have to be a starter. They can be a bench guy. I'm simply looking at somebody, a different prototype, a different skill that the Pelicans have been missing, that they don't currently have, and what that may maximize for certain key players. And if we think Herb Jones is great now defensively, if we're in all some of the special things he does now, with probably, we'll talk about in spite of what that starting group, what would it look like if he had someone with a different level of talent? I'd be interested to see it. So, yo, man, get in the comments, argue, talk, yell at me, tell me the show trash, tell me the show great. That's fine. I'm going to record another couple. But as always, appreciate y'all rocking with me. Adjusting the bill collector about to say this long ass DraftKings read. But as always, bet responsibly and listen to the green and gold black people.
DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs, is bringing you an offer that'll help make the playoffs electrifying. New customers can bet $5 on any game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code BOOT. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code BOOT. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Bonus bets expired 168 hours after issuance. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball terms.
Maybe it's green and orange. Sorry, y'all.